My dear wife enjoyed playing the organ.
Arthur Gregg's Northern Virginia home.
I was the commanding general of the Army and Air Force Exchange System Europe.
Serves as a museum of sorts.
Japan and Korea.
Offering snapshots of the 94-year-old's life that saw him marry, raise 2 children, and travel the globe in service of the U.S. Army, rising from private to lieutenant general over 36 years in the logistics branch.
Had a very satisfying career for me personally, and I feel that I contributed to the United States Army and America.
And while it is Gregg's story on these walls, that story is intertwined with changes in the Army and the fort now bearing his name, starting with his planned career derailing as he joined in 1946 when the Army was still segregated. And despite training as a medical lab tech, African Americans didn't serve in that position in his first posting in Germany.
At that time in our lives, if one door is closed, you knocked on another. And when I knocked on that second door, I entered the world of logistics, and it worked out fine for me.
Gregg eventually became an officer and was posted to Fort Lee in 1950, where he helped comply with President Truman's 1948 order to desegregate the military.
As an example, when I arrived, I could not enter the officers' club, but by the end of 1950, I was able to go into the officers' club.
Gregg adds he and others knew who Fort Lee was named for.
But we also knew that he was a traitor, that he deserted the American Army and joined the Confederate. And obviously we did not draw inspiration from that.
Gregg would continue to serve for several more decades, including another stint at Fort Lee, and would become the first African American to reach the rank of lieutenant general, calling that an honor, but adding he knew of others before him who were just as deserving but didn't get it.
And since then, of course, many others have also made it. It reflects, in large part, the evolution of race in America.
And Gregg supports another aspect of that evolution, the renaming of bases tied to the Confederacy, and becomes the first living person in modern U.S. history to have a base named after them, as Fort Lee becomes Fort Gregg-Adams.
That makes the honor even more special.
And that renaming extends to the same officers' club Gregg couldn't enter as lieutenant in 1950 and took part in a renaming ceremony last week. The Adams in the new name refers to Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams, who led a black female battalion called the 688 and dealt with male issues in Europe during World War II. Gregg says while he never met Adams, he's gotten to know her kids and her story.
She has been a marvelous person and a great leader, and we can all salute her for her many accomplishments.
And as the base takes on its new identity, Gregg hopes current and future soldiers will be able to do with it what he could not.
We'll find the name inspiring and satisfying.